Okay, let's talk about first-time home buyers. Somebody reached out to me on Instagram a few weeks ago. I've been meaning to make this video. Sorry, Justin, I'm just now getting to it. I want to answer his questions that he had as a first-time home buyer. Here we go. I'm Sam, and this is the Living in Tampa channel, and we make these videos for you about what it's like to live and move and buy houses in Tampa, all that kind of stuff. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone number and email are right there on the screen. We're a team of realtors, and we'd love a chance to earn your business. But today I want to tell a story about somebody who reached out. So this guy, Justin, reached out on Instagram to me like a year ago, had a few questions about a couple different things, came back recently and said, hey Sam, can you answer these questions about being a first-time home buyer? I said, yeah, absolutely. Send me the questions you have, and I want to make a video for you about it because some other people may have the same questions. The thing is, when you work in real estate, you do this thing over and over again. You write the contracts, you deal with the deadlines, you deal with the title company, the mortgages, the money, like all of it. It seems normal. I understand as a consumer, you're doing this a couple times in your life. So it just doesn't become as normal. We're actually closing on a house in a couple days, and being the consumer is so much different than being the agent. So I'm trying to just reconnect you with you, the consumer, answer some of these questions. Let's go through it. So Justin's first question, how long does the process take? Let's go typical. So typical, somebody reaches out, they're gonna visit in a month. When they're here, we go look at a few places, we connect them with our lender, we get them pre-approved, then we're ready to make offers. We typically do like virtual showings. So say all that takes 2 months, so 60 days. If we write an offer, we can close that deal within 21 days. So what does that mean? There's all kinds of steps in that. 21 days is pretty fast, but our lender is really fast. So let's say it's 30 days. 30 days, we're writing the offer, we have an inspection period of 7 days, we've got to get the loan approved, we've got to get the house appraised, all these kind of things. So we're getting an inspection done within 7 days, we're negotiating any little repairs we need. We're moving past that step, then we're ordering an appraisal. Those are the two things you have to pay for out of pocket. The inspection, around $500–600, the appraisal, the same. So you're paying for those things. After the inspection's done, we order the appraisal. Then they come out and tell you, they're pretty much telling the bank what the house is worth, what the bank should be willing to loan you for. Get that done. If it's low, if it's high, great, you have automatic equity in your house. If it's low, we might go back to the seller and negotiate a reduced price or some concessions or something like that. Because if it's too low, you're gonna have to bring more cash out of pocket for the closing to make up the difference. That gets kind of confusing. I understand if you're not familiar with that. Okay, when should you start looking? I mean, people look all the time, right? So many people that reach out to us, they've already been on Zillow and Realtor.com, and they're like, hey, what about these 10 houses that I found already? Are these good options? What do you think of these places? That's a great way to start because I love to get feedback on actual things and not just ambiguous ideas. Typically people have already kind of looked a little bit, but it really doesn't take that long to find a house that you would want to buy. That process goes really fast. I mean, that can really happen in a couple weeks if you're not super particular, but it could take a couple months. It's never gonna take 6 months. Just never, unless you're really particular about something that we haven't encountered yet. Is it seasonal? This is a good question from Justin. Yes and no. So Florida market has kind of constant influx and outflow, but we do have increased demand and increased inventory in the summer. So right now, whenever people are moving because of school, their kids are out of school, so they can sell their house, they can move to a different one just around the area, or they can, sell in a different state and move to this area before school starts. School in this area starts pretty early August, so people are going pretty fast at that time. So that's where, houses get a lot more offers, especially those houses that are 4 bedrooms with a pool in a good school district. So that's the biggest seasonal influx we see. I know other markets like Fort Lauderdale and Miami have a little bit more of a winter market because there's a lot of people buying winter homes or retiring in those areas. We don't have that as much here in the Tampa area. Okay, Justin's next question is fixed versus adjustable. This is such a preference thing. Obviously, ideal is a fixed interest rate for the life of your loan, but if you can get a few points lower or 1 point lower and it's adjustable for the next 5 years and then it corrects, just ask the lender for details, like how much does it correct, how high can it go. There's limits on all those kind of things with adjustable rate mortgages, and it's important to get all those details from the lender. I'm not a mortgage lender, So I can't give you those specifics, but I have a great connection that can and would love to introduce you to him. But all that to say, sometimes adjustable makes sense, especially if you're gonna be expecting to make a lot more money in the future. You can qualify for a higher mortgage really easily, some things like that. Or if you just plan on being in the house for a couple of years. The thing is, we rarely plan to be in a house for a couple of years, and I didn't plan that either. But our first house, we were there for 2.5 years. Our second house, we were there for 2.5 years. So it's about how it works for us, and I wonder how it will work for you. Okay, what's the most or least you can or should put down as a down payment? You know, it used to be mortgages, you had to put down 20%. Now you don't. That's a very traditional, conventional mortgage where you won't have mortgage insurance, you won't have additional expenses for putting less down. But with a conventional loan, you could put down 10%, you can put down 5%. If you have like superb credit, sometimes you can even put down 3%. But then the other loan that people often talk about is the FHA loan, where you can put down 3.5%. And this is a decent option for a lot of you, but it's going to have mortgage insurance, and that mortgage insurance on an FHA loan doesn't expire. So you'd have to refinance the loan to get that additional expense off eventually. But if that's what makes sense and that's what helps you get into the house that you really want to get into, it's worth it. Okay, next question was debt to income. What should your debt to income ratio be? And this is part of the loan. So this is something the lender calculates your monthly debts you're paying compared to your monthly income. Obviously, the lower the number, the better. So the less debt compared to the higher income, better. There's certain limits with certain loan types, 40, 35%, something like that. This is one of those things you gotta talk to a lender about. And the thing is, with applying for a loan, it really doesn't affect your credit the way another loan application would. Like if you're applying for a credit card or you're applying for like a personal loan, that affects your credit in a pretty hard way. A mortgage application just doesn't affect it that way. It affects it like 2 to 3 points after 90 days. But that gives the lender a good glimpse into your financial situation and lets them make good recommendations. Hey, let's prioritize paying this thing off, or let's prioritize doing this. Like, my lender is amazing with that kind of stuff, and I would love to introduce you to him. Okay, what to watch out for, what common mistakes people make. I think the biggest mistake people make is they think of it as forever. And real estate is so durable and homogenous. Like, your house isn't gonna fall over. It's not gonna lose a ton of value unless everything loses a ton of value. And it's pretty similar to the house next door in that it has walls and it has a kitchen and bathrooms. Like, they're pretty similar to each other. Just like trucks are similar to each other, even though they can be very different from each other. Our first house we bought with 0 down. We found this program that we qualified for, and the bank kept it as a portfolio loan, so the appraisal didn't even matter. They paid the closing costs too. We did some updates to that house while we lived there, and then we made about $100,000 when we sold it. Now, not all of that was profit. Some of that was the money we put into it that we got back, that we like with the updates. Then our next house, we took that money and we did a 20% down payment, and our equity in that house is about $120,000 after 2.5 years. And some of this is lucky. Some of this is the timing of the market. But if we didn't take that first risk, you know, our net worth would be so different at this point. So if you want a house, I think it's worth figuring it out. And his last question is, should you get pre-approved? Absolutely. Connecting with a lender and really understanding what you qualify for and what you need to prioritize to make sure you're ready to buy when you want to is super important. Now, all kinds of online companies can offer that, but you want somebody to dig in a little more in depth and like actually give you some advice and give you some clarity, spend time explaining things to you. And that's what our team is here for, not just us, but our partners. So we'd love to connect with you sometime. Our phone number and email are right there on the screen and in the description down below. Let's have a Zoom call, a phone call, and let's process kind of how we can help, and then make some introductions to make sure you get this process going and accomplish some of your goals. So we'd love to hear from you. Thanks for coming by.